Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Just a real quick video about the weight of the bridges of the AVLB, the Hobby Boss Leopard 2 AVLB. As I mentioned to you before, the bridge seemed pretty heavy with all the sprues, the parts still being attached to the sprues. And after I finished building half of the bridge, I was curious about how the weight would affect the lagoon, the tank itself. So we're going to go ahead and measure that out. Before you is my scale that I finally found. I was thinking, where the heck did I put that darn thing? I rarely use it, but this is the scale that I use to measure certain things, like the weights of the ships mostly, to see if they actually float. Don't ask me why. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and measure out the weight of the bridge here. Now it's already been zeroed out. I'm going to zoom in on it. I want to go ahead and show you what 1/2 or a quarter of the bridge would be. Now I haven't put on the ramp. I'm going to test it out in just a moment to show you what the results are going to be. And it shows up there at 49 grams. Okay, so that's the weight of a quarter. Okay, so about the weight of half the bridge. As you can see on there, it goes up to 103 grams. So it's a lot of weight. And I haven't even put on the ramps on those two there. So that's a lot of weight that laying arm has to deal with when I was trying to extend that whole bridge out on that laying arm. It's going to be kind of impossible. And I'm just curious if I were to measure it on one corner, just on one side, holding it down, and it's looking like it's weighing about 125, roughly 140, 130 is the lower and upper ends, but 125, 127 grams. Okay, and again, that's a lot of weight to put on the bridge. Now, I haven't put on the ramps. That's going to add another bit of weight, but also the glue. I'm curious if the glue might add some weight to it. It probably does. So just FYI, if you're thinking about extending that bridge out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today is the day. Today we're going to see what this bridge looks like, just FYI. We already measured out the weight. I gave you dimensions of the bridge itself when it's completed. I've already primed it, and I finished painting it. And there you go. My God, this is huge. Okay, so this is a big deal. It's came out to be quite large, and I haven't even painted the ramps themselves, let alone attached them. But a couple things I want to mention. First of all, it's really important when you're building this bridge, everything's got to be squared away, squared off, making sure that all the pins, the locking pins, that are down over here right where my finger is at the very, very bottom of this screen here. Hopefully you'll see it. Are meshed together, making sure that everything does fit. Test fitting, test fitting, test fitting. But here's the thing. There are two very thin pins. I'm going to kind of point it out to you with a knife here. There's one over here on this side, another one over here on this side. Two inner pins. It's kind of like a T with a hook that's going to hook onto that T. Now, they're on opposing sides, and it's really important that, again, you're not going to play around with this. I sure won't, but it's kind of important that you try not to break those pins. I've already broken one. It actually secures this bridge pretty well, so I can almost like lift it up just on one end here. Okay, so you can see with my fingers over here, I'm lifting it up with one end. And if you lose that other pin, man, this thing's just going to collapse. It's just going to fold on itself. The locking pins that are over here at the bottom might kind of hold it into place a little bit, but it's going to really stress it out. So when you're attaching that bridge, be very, very observant of those pins. If I'm not mistaken, I think one pin clamps down this side and the other pin clamps down on the other side. So it's going to be kind of a twisting type of thing to actually get this thing on and attach it. So what about the rest of the tank? Well, let's go ahead and show that to you. So here's the Leopard 2 AVLB. Just FYI, I did not attach the tracks on there yet. I'm still trying to debate whether I'm going to get individual tracks or just lay out that rubber track. As you can see, as I'm laying this camera down, you can get a pretty good idea just how immense this whole tank is. I mean, it's just really incredible. I mean, again, I don't know how many times I have to tell you guys, but Hobby Boss, you did a really superior job on putting this guy together. Maybe not to the best of my abilities, since this is my first tank, but it's really quite something. I'm going to try to detach the bridge to show you what this thing looks like all meshed up on top of each other on top of that tank. So that's my next thing I want to do. All right, so what does this look like with the bridge being removed? Well, as I already mentioned, the ramps have not been glued down yet. I was just finishing painting them off, basically removing the liquid mask so that way I could attach the glue on there firmly, make sure everything's okay. So I'm going to just separate those parts. There is a little bit of a groove right up over here on either side. Those ramps actually go inside that little bit of a groove and gives it a little bit more, I don't know, of a support, I guess, for those ramps. There are 4 of them, 3 on either side, 4 on either side, 1, 2, and then the other 2 on the other side. But let's go ahead and separate this thing. So like I mentioned, the thing's pretty delicate. You have those 4 connections, as I already mentioned, and you have the 2 locking pins, hooks on the inside portion there. Okay, I already pointed to you, unpainted, so that way you can see them a little bit better. Now, unfortunately, I already broke off one of them. They're very delicate. Maybe I need to go over it again, drill out some pins. I actually put a metal support pin in there. We'll see. That might be the last modification I need to do for this bridge. But how's this thing taken apart? Well, I would flip it over, and I'm probably going to speed rush this because it might take me a little time. It might take me a little time for me to remove this whole bloody thing. So just bear with me. You'll get the idea how this is stacked up on top of that tank. And like I said, I just need to finish painting a little bit more of the braces underneath. I don't know if it's a major thing. I'm just that kind of guy. So first, let's just undo those locking pins. And there's also another pin, not really a pin, but a horizontal female-male attachment point. Maybe a guide on either side. This one works right over here, but this one got unsquared. Okay, I didn't square it off correctly. So that might be another thing why the pin might have broken off on this side. I really don't know, but just be aware of that. The pin over here does work right above my finger. That one is going to be still attached, so that one still looks good over there. So just bear with me as I unattach this thing. So I'm going to go ahead, pull down a little bit, give it a twisting motion, and how about that? That was quick. That thing just popped right off. And then just flip it over and just attach. Now, on the real thing, that's not going to happen. On the real McCoy, this forward part comes out, this part's on top on that rear support arm. Once that part comes out, this thing is actually elevated up just a little bit. Not as extreme as I'm showing to you right now. Once it rolls out to a certain distance, this is all done by computer, then this section comes down and snaps into place. Then the whole bloody thing is just rolled out and then laid down onto the ground. But that was much quicker than I expected. I've been not really practicing, but just being really careful. And there's that pin right up here, right where my finger is. Let me just show it to you here. Right up here. Okay, there's that pin that I'm showing to you in orange there, right where that pointed paintbrush is. So it's very delicate. I might want to replace it with a T-pin, drill it out, well, cut it, drill a hole, attach that pin, make it size up, so that way I'll have this one working as well as this guy. And then when you're ready to, I don't know, couple it in, okay, just the opposite. Just start out with the connection pins. Again, going it backwards. Kind of lay it down. Might be a little bit easier that way. So me holding this whole bloody thing up. Get everything aligned. Just give it a little push. Push her down. And there you go. You know what? That works a lot better. Okay, now see how this is loose up on top? That is because those locking pin and hook are not attached. So we're going to just go ahead, bring it over, flip it over to the right side up, and just press down on it a bit. If you did this correctly, it's going to lock into position. Now, I didn't lock it in because I want to show it to you what the thing looks like on top of the tank. So let me go ahead and pause it and show you with the tank. All right, so after a little bit of fussing, nothing major. The roller wheels, remember those roller bars that we painted, that steel color? They're getting a little bit caught up with the track, the rack, actually, the rack and pinion portion of this tank. It's because of all the painting, the priming, all that stuff on both the roller bars in the bridge itself. So it was a little bit stuck getting on there. I also want to note that the rear support arm, interestingly, has this very curious set of pins. One pin here and the other pin over there on the other side, which is kind of hidden behind, right in front of the smoke grenades. I think that pin actually would fit inside there, right where that hole is, right where I'm pointing to. That's my guess of how this thing's actually elevated up. On top of that, don't forget you have that auxiliary arm down below, which I'm kind of curious if I should play around with that to see if I can actually elevate this thing, what it would look like if it is elevated. I'm going to try to see if I can do that. But this is what it looks like stacked up. Now, how big is this? Let's see. How tall is this guy? Okay, well, I have my metric ruler. Okay, and from the bottom, now remember I haven't put the track on there yet. From the bottom to the top of this thing is just a little bit under, excuse me, a little bit under? A little bit over, excuse me, a little bit over 11 centimeters, about 11.1, looks like. 11.2 centimeters above. And so it's a pretty tall tank. And quite long once that bridge gets extended. Now, there's a graphic that shows you how this works. Unfortunately, you will not be able to do that unless, of course, someone else modifies that Velegrarm, that laying arm that's in the middle of this, this hab here. So that's what it looks like attached. I do want to point out that the bridge is not attached on the top. The ramps are not attached either. But this is what it looks like, which is half of that bridge. And again, that support bridge would actually be up here. Now, once it's getting ready to maneuver, let's see if I can even get that auxiliary arm. Let me see. Let me pause for a moment. So I came by and removed that upper ramp. I remove the ramps for the lower portion of that bridge, the other half of that bridge. And so you can see the Velegrarm. Just FYI, I will not be able to deploy that auxiliary arm. I kind of figured that as I was putting it together way back when in the Step 7 series. There's pistons. So it's like over here where the smoke grenade is. There's a set of pistons that probably extend out to lock that bridge into position, whatever that position is. And I'm sure there's a set of folding, retracting pistons that are inside that auxiliary arm. Right now I have it modeled where the pistons are actually extended out. So for that thing to actually move up, it has to go right in between the rack and the Velegrarm. It's got to go right up here, just like where I'm seeing my paintbrush going through. It's got to go right up and through here and extend upward. I'm going to try to see if I can do that. I'm going to remove this portion, or at least partially remove it, and see if I can actually get that that auxiliary arm. All right, so right now I do have that auxiliary arm pulled out. Like I said, it will not be able to be deployed. And it looked pretty tricky to do that. I mean, I would have to get a set of tweezers and try to like pull the pin apart from its lock-in position, which I still have. I still have that lock position in there. Pull it apart and then raise that auxiliary arm to where it is right now. So, I mean, it was worth a try. Let's see what it looks like if I have this thing assembled with the ramps and whatnot. And the second ramp attached. Neighbors next door are having a yard sale, so that's why you hear that dog barking over there in the background. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the second part of that bridge. Now again, that second part of the bridge looks like it's going to be attaching to this pin roughly, and this thing just gets set right on top. Oh, there you go. So there is a bit of a gap from that bridge. So that thing does move up. The bottom portion of this bridge extends out in that direction. Okay. Once it gets to a certain point, the two halves connect. Those connecting joints that you see in the background and in the foreground. The locking pins, which is kind of hard to see, right again, right where my finger is. Those locking pins attach, and everything gets secured. So that's what that thing looks like. And that elevated position, you know, again, whew, it's a lot of work. It's still a little imbalanced. It's just, maybe it's just that way. Okay. But it's just amazing that such a tank like this will actually work pretty well. Now, I did get a question about, does the U.S. Army have something like this? They do. It's the I think it's the M108, M104. That's the Wolverine. They have something very, very similar to this, except for the M1 tank itself, minus the turret. Okay. They have that rear support arm over there to the right. They have that front support blade over there to the left. They have that lay-in arm, very similar structure, on top of their tank. So all three parts are there. You would have to modify your tank. If you're doing an M1, modify that tank to have those things attached, which I don't think it would be a big deal. The rear support arm, strangely, it just has like basically two attachment points, which I really want to secure because it seems very, very weak. The front support blade, you can probably glue that onto the glacis plate of your M1. The laying arm in the middle, that one you probably have to modify a bit, drill out a hole, a good size hole, maybe about, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch drill bit, maybe bigger. I really haven't looked into it. But then you have to purchase the Hobby Boss kit to get those three pieces and the bridge itself. But, you know, those of you who want to do that kind of thing, I mean, knock yourself out. I think it'd be kind of cool. But the U.S. Army figured out that it was too expensive, required a lot of maintenance, as you could obviously tell, and a big technical. You know, it's a not easy bridge to put together. Now, they still have that scissors type bridge where both bridges are laying down, the thing is elevated up, and it scissors across. They still have that one on the M1 chassis. So they still have that guy. Now, I do have that tank, the M60, M48 AVLB. But I wanted to build this one first because I thought this was cooler. And it is cool. Both of them are pretty cool. But it's a lot of work. That's taken me, I would say, cumulatively, maybe about 4 or 5 months to build, paint, assemble, articulate. And even though it's been a year since I started previewing the kit and actually putting it together, she's, like I said, she's about 90% complete. I still have to paint the ramps, attach them, finish up some small little minor chips of attachment. Okay. The paint job, which I'm going to be asking you about, and a bit of weathering, because this is going to be a muddy tank. This goes into the river, or at least on the outskirts of the river. Okay, so this is what it looks like stacked up. So pretty cool beans. Let me just lower it a bit, bring her down, just to show you. And yeah, I'll try to show you some stills related to this kit. Show you what this thing looks like. So now the only thing I need to worry about now, once I paint the ramps, finish a little bit of the detail work around the tank, add my finishing touches on the Leopard 2. What's the next thing? Well, the next thing is going to be the paint job, the final paint job. We have the base coat all laid out for you. It took literally about a jar and a half of these larger 23 milliliter bottles, one and a half of those. And just let you know that Tamiya has a smaller brand of these guys. I just don't know exactly what size that is. But it did take quite a bit of paint, especially when you're doing that bridge. Paint on the underside, paint all the braces, all the support structures, the arms that are included over there in the front, on the sides and whatnot. And just making sure that you cover everything. So it's a bit of work, but now the decision is coming down to how I'm going to paint this thing. Should I paint it one way or another? So what do I mean by that? I'm going to show you that right now. So just to let you know, there are going to be some final touches I'm going to do before I put on that final paint job. One thing that was pointed out to me by Rick's Hobbies a while back, as I mentioned, Rick's 1/35th scale models. He does a lot of modern German tanks, a lot of them. And he's on YouTube. I mentioned it to you a couple times. But one thing he pointed out, that this tank right here is basically the prototype. It's not the actual Leopard 2 AVLB that you would see on the field. And some of the things he pointed out was the addition of this one basket, which I already mentioned, the addition of the two other baskets behind that rear support arm, that fixed arm that's over there in the back that I'm pointing to over here. For me, I added the Optotrix underneath, the lay-in arm, the Velegrarm, and some other additional things that I put on there as well. But one thing that is not on this tank, that by the time I already started building it, was the removal of those snow cleats that are there on the Stuttgart, on the Sturt arm. Those should be deleted there on the Sturt arm, and underneath that frame there, those guys should be deleted, and they should be put inside the baskets over here in the back. I don't have that ability, and by the time I figured out that these guys should not be there, it was already too late for me to make any modification. But one modification I'm going to do is the addition of this, these German indicators. There are these small little, if you remember back in the 60s and 70s, ladies and gentlemen, those little fenders that you have on the side of your car. Well, there's a couple of them that are out here as well. Right over here, there's a platform where I'm pointing to right now on the stretch arm right here. And that's forward support arm has like a little platform, a little square platform with one of these indicators sticking out on either side of the tank. Over here in the front, over here in the front, just right behind that that arm. It's welded on there with those indicators sticking out. So I'm going to be doing that. That's one thing. Another thing that I saw on the rear support arm was this guy, this NATO flashing beacon. I just ran into this website called Perfect Scale Model Blah. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's German. But you can find it there, and it gave us this little beacon that's here. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool if I could put that on there. Color it up, attach it over there in the rear. I think there was only that one. There might have been a second one. That's over here in the front. I'll have to look for it, but I don't think there is. And then this guy, which I finally was able to find, I knew there was going to be something like this, and it's this thing. The air filter itself. not the air filter, excuse me, this device right here that's going to be found underneath that screen. I just forgot the name of it. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But basically, again, from the same company, okay, from the same company, they gave you screens, which I already got already. But the cool thing is that they gave you this 3D printed piece. And those guys are going to go right underneath there. And it's a perfect fit. It fits really well. I have very little worry about attaching it on there. So those are the three finalized things I'm going to do before I paint. But let's get to the paint. What am I going to do for that? So as far as the paint job, in the Hobby Boss kit, they give you two color guides of either having it just a standard NATO Green that you see before you, or having this thing actually be deployed in its NATO camouflage, that dark green, the black, the brown. Or should I paint it in the Ukraine color? Since the war with Ukraine and Russia has been going on for almost 3 years now, I came by and said, you know what, I'm going to try to see if I can dedicate this German AVLB, this Leopard 2, to to the people of Ukraine. I worked really hard, ladies and gentlemen, in making this model, and I think for me, it will be befitting. Even though this is the wrong tank, the markings are correct to actually paint this in the Ukrainian camouflage. Now, they do have this digital camouflage. It is a mask from DN models. And that's as close as I could get it to something that's going to be, one, large, and two, appropriate for what I need to do in a sense of a Ukrainian type of tank here. So that's my option. I'm going to put out a poll, hopefully soon, to ask you, do I do the tricolor or do I do the Ukrainian color? It looks like the same colors that you would use on the NATO camouflage, the black, the green, except the yellow is a different color. That one I have to look up. I just don't remember that offhand. I'll write it down in the description. But you know what? You have the brown, the black. You already have the green. All I need is just one color, that yellow or buff color. And trick this thing out as a what if now. I mean, why not? Why not? Why not dress it out as a what if? A Ukrainian AVLB going across German trenches, laying down the trench, having a Leopard 2 and an M1 on either side. And the thing is, though, is that this guy right here, well, hell, when I bought those, I had to buy not one, but I had to buy two of these darn things. So I have a spare. I have a spare from that one website. And I'll write that website for you on the description. So I have two of these. One's going to be for this Leopard 2. The other one, I don't know. Huh? Does Mo try to build out a Leopard 2? Now, there are many Leopard 2 A whatever. Okay, A6, A7. I think there's an A8. I think I saw. But and there are many different brands of that Leopard 2 MBT, that main battle tank. There's one. So as far as the Leopard 2s, the A6 or A7, I mean, I think they're deploying the A6 over in Ukraine. I mean, there's Mang, There's Border. I think Ryefield has one, and it even has one with an interior. My God, Tamiya. I think Tamiya came out with a new one, a new A6. I'm not sure if it's a German one. I know they have that Ukraine one. And put it on the markings, the actual national markings for a Ukrainian tank is pretty easy. It looks like it's just 4 boxes in a square fashion. Kind of looks like the German markings. And that could be easily done. I could do that. That's not a big deal. So that's the thing I have, those little additions, the painting job. The model's complete. This thing's finished, for all things considered. The only thing I'm missing is just the track. I might just go with the rubber track just to be finished with the model. And of course, I've always wanted to put in those little details of storage compartments, at least on this one. So that might be one last thing I want to kind of do. But the paint job is the thing I'm going to be asking you about. What should I do? Should I try to do that tricolor, NATO tricolor, or should I do that digital Ukrainian? I mean, I have more than enough mass. I don't think it's going to be that involved. It might be just something as simple as this. I'll have to take a look. But a friend of mine, a co-worker of mine, referenced that Ukrainian army, their Bradleys, their M2 Bradleys, have that digital camouflage. It's a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more put together. It's not as... it's very deliberate. It's not as deliberate as this. This is very easy to do. The Bradley ones have a lot more markings on there to give it that unique, that unique color that the Ukrainians have. So that's my dilemma, small dilemma that I'm thinking about as far as the paint job. So let me know. Comment about the bridge itself. This pretty much concludes. Finally. This pretty much concludes the Hobby Boss Leopard 2 Armored Vehicle Bridge Laying Tank, the Leopard 2 AVLB. It was quite a job. The details very nice. The putting together of this tank was really cool beans. Sure, there were some shortcomings that I mentioned. One of them is still that damn pin over there, that rear support arm. Arr. But other than that, I mean, having something to actually hold down that bloody piston, this guy, holding that piston down. So that way you can, wow, extend this bridge out, this almost 3-foot bridge. I think it's 2.5. 2.5 foot bridge at the very end of that laying arm. Jesus. And you know what? The articulation, the added details. Okay, I think I would recommend this model. Yes, it'll take you a while. It'll take a while to build this thing. It's not an easy build, especially for the articulation. But I think whoever does this next, I haven't seen anybody build this. I'm the first one. So whoever in the future builds this Hobby Boss tank, who knows, maybe they do have that 14-meter bridge. Instead of this big 28, which is incorrect, it should be 26-meter bridge. You know, I like to see what you do. I really would, before I leave this world, which is not going to happen for a very long time. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I still have that paint job I need to do. So this thing is about 90% completed. I just need to add the final details for this Leopard 2. And that's going to be it. Now, the crazy thing is, what's my next job? Well, I'm going to tell you about that after I do the paint job. So this is Ed Modest. Hope you enjoyed watching my videos. They're quite extensive, they're quite long, and they're meant to be that way. So that way I could give you more than enough knowledge on how to build this tank. But let me know, comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next model build. Ciao.